Chapter 11. Pavel Pavlovitch means to marry. As he responded with this "good evening," he was surprised at himself. It struck him as extremely strange that he met this man now without a trace of anger, and that in his feeling for him at that moment there was something quite different, and actually, indeed, a sort of impulse towards something new. "What an agreeable evening," observed Pavel Pavlovitch, looking into his face. "You've not gone away yet," Velchaninov observed, not by way of a question, but simply making that reflection aloud as he walked on. "Things have dragged on, but I've obtained a post with an increase of salary. I shall be going away the day after tomorrow, for certain." "You've got a post?" he said this time, asking a question. "Why shouldn't I?" Pavel Pavlovitch screwed up his face. "Oh, I only asked," Velchaninov said, disclaiming the insinuation, and, with a frown, he looked askance at Pavel Pavlovitch. To his surprise, the attire, the hat with the crepe band, and the whole appearance of M. Trusotsky were incomparably more presentable than they had been a fortnight before. What was he sitting in that tavern for? He kept wondering. "I was intending, Alexey Ivanovitch, to communicate with you on a subject for rejoicing," Pavel Pavlovitch began again. "Rejoicing?" "I'm going to get married." "What?" "After sorrow comes rejoicing. So it is always in life. I should be so gratified, Alexey Ivanovitch, if... But, I don't know, perhaps you're in a hurry now, for you appear to be... "Yes, I am in a hurry. And I'm unwell, too." He felt a sudden and intense desire to get rid of him. His readiness for some new feeling had vanished in a flash. "I should have liked..." Pavel Pavlovitch did not say what he would have liked. Velchaninov was silent. "In that case, it must be later on, if only we meet again." Yes, later on," Velchaninov muttered rapidly, without stopping or looking at him. They were both silent again for a minute. Pavel Pavlovitch went on walking beside him. "In that case, goodbye till we meet again," Pavel Pavlovitch brought out at last. "Goodbye. I hope..." Velchaninov returned home thoroughly upset again. Contact with that man was too much for him. As he got into bed, he asked himself again, why was he at the cemetery? Next morning he made up his mind to go to the Pogoryeltsevs. He made up his mind to go reluctantly. Sympathy from anyone, even from the Pogoryeltsevs, was too irksome for him now. But they were so anxious about him that he felt absolutely obliged to go. He suddenly had a foreboding that he would feel horribly ashamed at their first meeting again. Should he go or not, he thought, as he made haste to finish his breakfast, when, to his intense amazement, Pavel Pavlovitch walked in. In spite of their meeting the day before, Velchaninov could never have conceived that the man would come to see him again, and was so taken aback that he stared at him and did not know what to say. But Pavel Pavlovitch was equal to the occasion. He greeted him, and sat down on the very same chair on which he had sat on his last visit. Velchaninov had a sudden and peculiarly vivid memory of that visit, and gazed uneasily and with repulsion at his visitor. "You're surprised?" began Pavel Pavlovitch, interpreting Velchaninov's expression. He seemed altogether much more free and easy than on the previous day, and at the same time it could be detected that he was more nervous than he had been then. His appearance was particularly curious. M. Trusotsky was not only presentably, but quite foppishly dressed, in a light summer jacket, light-colored trousers of a smart, close-fitting cut, a light waistcoat, gloves, a gold lorgnette, which he had suddenly adopted for some reason. His linen was irreproachable. He even smelt of scent. About his whole get-up there was something ridiculous, and at the same time, strangely and unpleasantly suggestive. "Of course, Alexey Ivanovitch," he went on, wriggling. "I'm surprising you by coming, and I'm sensible of it. But there is always, so I imagine, preserved between people, and to my mind there should be preserved, something higher, shouldn't there? Higher, I mean, than all the conditions, and even unpleasantnesses that may come to pass. Shouldn't there?" "Pavel Pavlovitch, say what you have to say quickly, and without ceremony," said Velchaninov, frowning. "In a couple of words," Pavel Pavlovitch began hastily, "I'm going to get married, and I am just setting off to see my future bride. They are in a summer villa, too. I should like to have the great honor to make bold to introduce you to the family, and have come to ask an unusual favor." Pavel Pavlovitch bent his head humbly. "To beg you to accompany me." "Accompany you? Where?" Velchaninov stared with open eyes. "To them, that is, to their villa. Forgive me, I am talking as though in a fever, and perhaps I've not been clear. But I'm so afraid of your declining." And he looked plaintively at Velchaninov. "Do you want me to go with you now to see your future bride?" Velchaninov repeated, scrutinizing him rapidly, unable to believe his eyes or ears. "Yes," said Pavel Pavlovitch, extremely abashed. "Don't be angry, Alexey Ivanovitch. It's not impudence. I only beg you most humbly, as a great favor. I had dreamed that you might not like, that being so, to refuse." "To begin with, it's utterly out of the question." Velchaninov turned round uneasily. "It is merely an intense desire on my part, and nothing more," Pavel Pavlovitch went on, imploring him. "I will not conceal, either, that there are reasons for it, but I should have preferred not to have revealed them till later, and for the present to confine myself to the very earnest request," and he positively got up from his seat to show his deference. "But in any case it is quite impossible. You must admit that yourself." Velchaninov too stood up. "It is quite possible, Alexey Ivanovitch. I was proposing to present you as a friend. And, besides, you are an acquaintance of theirs already. You see, it's to Zalebinin's, to his villa. The civil councillor, Zalebinin." "What?" cried Velchaninov. It was the civil councillor for whom he had been constantly looking for a month before, and had never found at home. He had, as it turned out, been acting in the interests of the other side. Yes, said Pavel Pavlovitch, smiling and seeming to be greatly encouraged by Velchaninov's great astonishment. "The very man, you remember, whom you were walking beside and talking to, while I stood opposite watching you. I was waiting to go up to him when you had finished. 20 years ago we were in the same office, and that day, when I meant to go up to him after you had finished, I had no idea of the sort. It occurred to me suddenly, only a week ago." "But, upon my word, they are quite a decent family," said Velchaninov, in naive surprise. "Well, what then if they are?" Pavel Pavlovitch grimaced. "No, of course, I didn't mean. Only as far as I've observed, when I was there." They remember your being there," Pavel Pavlovitch put in joyfully. "Only you couldn't have seen the family then. But he remembers you, and has a great esteem for you. We talked of you with great respect." "But when you've only been a widower 3 months?" "But you see, the wedding will not be at once. The wedding will be in 9 or 10 months, so that the year of mourning will be over. I assure you that everything is all right. To begin with, Fedosey Petrovitch has known me from a boy. He knew my late wife. He knows my style of living, and what people think of me, and what's more, I have property, and I'm receiving a post with increase of salary. So all that has weight. Why, is it his daughter? I will tell you all about it, Pavel Pavlovitch wriggled ingratiatingly. Allow me to light a cigarette. And you'll see her yourself today, too. To begin with, such capable men as Fedosey Petrovitch are sometimes very highly thought of here in Petersburg, if they succeed in attracting notice. But you know, apart from his salary and the additional and supplementary fees, bonuses, hotel expenses, and monies given in relief, he has nothing. That is, nothing substantial that could be called a capital. They are comfortably off, but there is no possibility of saving where there's a family. Only imagine, Fedosey Petrovitch has 8 girls, and only 1 son, still a child. If he were to die tomorrow, there would be nothing left but a niggardly pension. And 8 girls! Just imagine, only imagine, what it must run into simply for their shoes. Of these 8 girls, 5 are grown up. The eldest is 24, a most charming young lady, as you will see, and the 6th, a girl of 15, is still at the high school. Of course, husbands must be found for the 5 elder ones, and that ought to be done in good time as far as possible, so their father ought to bring them out. And what do you suppose that will cost? And then I turn up, the first suitor they have had in the house, and one they know all about, that I really have property, I mean. Well, that's all, Pavel Pavlovitch explained with fervor. You're engaged to the eldest? No, not to the eldest. You see, I'm proposing for the 6th, the one who is still at the high school. What? Said Velchaninov, with an involuntary smile. Why, you say she's only 15. 15 now, but in 9 months she'll be 16. She'll be 16 and 3 months. So what of it? But as it would be improper at present, there will be no open engagement, but only an understanding with the parents. I assure you that everything is all right. Then it's not settled yet? Yes, it is settled. It's all settled. I assure you, all is as it should be. And does she know? Well, it's only an appearance, for the sake of propriety, that they are not telling her. Of course she knows. Pavel Pavlovitch screwed up his eyes insinuatingly. Well, do you congratulate me, Alexey Ivanovitch? Pavel Pavlovitch concluded very timidly. But what should I go there for? However, he added hurriedly, since I'm not going in any case, don't trouble to find a reason. Alexey Ivanovitch. But do you expect me to get in beside you and drive off there with you? Think of it. The feeling of disgust and aversion came back after the momentary distraction of Pavel Pavlovitch's chatter about his future bride. In another minute he would have turned him out. He even felt angry with himself for some reason. Do, Alexey Ivanovitch, do, and you won't regret it, Pavel Pavlovitch implored him, in a voice fraught with feeling. No, no, no! He waved his hands, catching an impatient and determined gesture from Velchaninov. Alexey Ivanovitch, wait a bit before you decide. I see that you have perhaps misunderstood me. Of course, I know only too well that you cannot be to me, nor I to you, that we're not comrades. I am not so absurd as not to understand that, and that the favor I'm asking of you will not pledge you to anything in the future. And, indeed, I'm going away after tomorrow altogether, absolutely, just as though nothing had happened. Let this day be a solitary exception. I have come to you resting my hopes on the generosity of the special feelings of your heart, Alexey Ivanovitch, those feelings which might of late have been awakened. I think I'm speaking clearly, am I not? Pavel Pavlovitch's agitation reached an extreme point. Velchaninov looked at him strangely. You ask for some service from me? He questioned hesitatingly, and are very insistent about it. That strikes me as suspicious. I should like to know more about it. The only service is that you should come with me, and afterwards, on our way back, I will unfold all to you, as though at confession. Alexey Ivanovitch, believe me. But Velchaninov still refused, and the more stubbornly because he was conscious of an oppressive and malignant impulse. This evil impulse had been faintly stirring within him from the very beginning, ever since Pavel Pavlovitch had talked of his future bride. Whether it was simply curiosity, or some other quite obscure prompting, he felt tempted to consent. And the more he felt tempted, the more he resisted. He sat with his elbow on one hand, and hesitated. Pavel Pavlovitch beside him kept coaxing and persuading. Very good, I'll come, he consented all at once, uneasily and almost apprehensively, getting up from his seat. Pavel Pavlovitch was extremely delighted. But, Alexey Ivanovitch, you must change your clothes now, Pavel Pavlovitch cajoled him, hanging gleefully about him. Put on your best suit. And why must he meddle in this too, strange fellow? Velchaninov thought to himself. This is not the only service I'm expecting of you, Alexey Ivanovitch. Since you have given your consent, please be my adviser. In what, for example? The great question, for instance, of crepe. Which would be more proper? To remove the crepe, or keep it on? As you prefer. No, I want you to decide. What would you do yourself in my place? That is, if you had crepe on your hat. My own idea is that, if I retain it, it points to the constancy of my feelings, and so is a flattering recommendation. Take it off, of course. Do you really think it's a matter of course? Pavel Pavlovitch hesitated. No, I think I had better keep it. As you like. He doesn't trust me. That's a good thing, thought Velchaninov. They went out. Pavel Pavlovitch gazed with satisfaction at Velchaninov's smartened appearance. His countenance seemed to betray an even greater degree of deference and of dignity. Velchaninov wondered at him, and even more at himself. A very good carriage stood waiting for them at the gate. So you had a carriage already, too? So you felt sure I should come? I engaged the carriage for myself, but I did feel confident that you would consent to accompany me, Pavel Pavlovitch replied, with the air of a perfectly happy man. Ha, Pavel Pavlovitch, Velchaninov said, laughing as it were irritably when they were in the carriage and had set off. Weren't you too sure of me? But it's not for you, Alexey Ivanovitch. It's not for you to tell me that I'm a fool for it, Pavel Pavlovitch responded, in a voice full of feeling. And Lisa, thought Velchaninov, and at once hastened to dismiss the thought of her, as though afraid of sacrilege. And it suddenly seemed to him that he was so petty, so insignificant at that moment. It struck him that the thought that had tempted him was a thought so small and nasty, and he longed again, at all costs, to fling it all up, and to get out of the carriage at once, even if he had to thrash Pavel Pavlovitch. But the latter began talking, and the temptation mastered his heart again. Alexey Ivanovitch, do you know anything about jewels? What sort of jewels? Diamonds. Yes. I should like to take a little present. Advise me. Should I or not? I think you shouldn't, But I feel I should so like to, returned Pavel Pavlovitch. Only, what am I to buy? A whole set? That is, a brooch, earrings, bracelets? Or simply one article? How much do you want to spend? About 400 or 500 rubles. Ugh! Is it too much, or what? Asked Pavel Pavlovitch in a flutter. Buy a single bracelet for 100 rubles. Pavel Pavlovitch was positively mortified. He was so eager to spend more and buy a whole set of jewels. He persisted. They drove to a shop. It ended, however, in his only buying a bracelet, and not the one that he wanted to, but the one that Velchaninov fixed upon. Pavel Pavlovitch wanted to take both. When the jeweler, who had asked 175 rubles for the bracelet, consented to take 150 for it, Pavel Pavlovitch was positively vexed. He would have paid 200 if that sum had been asked. He was so eager to spend more. It doesn't matter, does it, my being in a hurry with presents? He gushed blissfully, when they had set off again. They're not grand people. They are very simple. The innocent creatures are fond of little presents, he said, with a sly and good-humored grin. You smiled just now, Alexey Ivanovitch, when you heard she was 15. But that's just what bowled me over, that she was still going to school with this satchel on her arm, full of copybooks and pens. That satchel fascinated me. It's innocence that charms me, Alexey Ivanovitch. It's not so much beauty of face. It's that. She giggles in the corner with her school friend. And how she laughs! My goodness! And what at? It's all because the kitten jumped off the chest of drawers onto the bed and was curled up like a little ball. And then there's that scent of fresh apples. Shall I take off the crepe? As you please. I will take it off. He took off his hat, tore off the crepe, and flung it in the road. Velchaninov saw that his face was beaming with the brightest hopes as he replaced his hat upon his bald head. Can it be that he is really like this? He thought, feeling genuinely angry. Can it be there isn't some trick in his inviting me? Can he be really reckoning on my generosity? He went on, almost offended at the last supposition. What is he? A buffoon? A fool? Or the eternal husband? But it's impossible.